Italy? Whiskey? Ah, Italy, you could never unlock my secret. Oh no, suddenly, no, leave me. Let's begin. Indeed.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and this is the Fireside Chat. And today we have a special guest. You guys know that we've been doing a bit of a recurring series of discussions and interviews with, say, like service members that have been run through the kangaroo courts of the legal system, as it were. And this is all thanks to the great work done by Arvis Owens, who has been helping us out with that and helping get people to tell their stories. And today we have one such guest, Dalton Clark. And I don't know much about it. I like to go into these things blind so that you get like a pretty organic reaction from me. So I want to welcome Dalton Clark and his father to the show. Welcome. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
That's good. All right. And yeah, so I guess like we should probably just get into your story. So can you guys and you feel free to jump in whenever you want to say something, or if you want to correct me, that's fine too.
Okay.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about, first of all, who you are, what you guys do, what you do specifically, and what your story is.
So my name is Dalton Clark. I was a lieutenant in the Army in the Ordnance. I currently am a taxidermist.
I am Travis Clark, retired lieutenant colonel. I kind of do whatever I want to do these days. But
so it's like it's like a military family.
My middle son was in. We got like 14 people that are either in, retired, or currently serving in our family, immediate first and second cousins.
Wow. Well, firstly, thank you for your service. Really appreciate it. And yeah, that's very cool to hear. So I guess then this is probably, is this strange to learn about, like what's happening with your son?
It's not strange now. It was strange coming into the military. 34 years of the military. My last 3 or 4 years, I've seen where the military was wrongfully sending soldiers through a stressful situation twice. The first thing I saw was the Army will take you through the courts, and if you're found not guilty, the Army will send you to a second set of courts called separation boards that are pretty much made up of a three-person panel and 2 lawyers doing the same thing that they did in a criminal court to find somebody guilty. But the guilty was to separate, reasons for separation. But the soldier had to go through this same stressful situation, even though he's not facing jail, but he's facing separation with a dishonorable discharge, which is pretty bad in the outside world.
So it's double tapping.
So you're double tapping. And what I saw it was for was nothing more than practice for the lawyers in the UCMJ arena, which I found disheartening, disgusting, that they would do soldiers this way.
Yeah. So does it match your your own personal history with the military? Like, is this like a thing that you think is sort of novel, like this, or like a trend? No,
it's normal. You don't know it's normal until you're wrapped into that. I was the president of 14 separation boards. Once I reached lieutenant colonel and colonel level, I didn't see any of this until I got to that level. Which once I saw it was eye-opening. It was like, oh my gosh, they're doing this to soldiers. And on the active duty world, on regular military posts, because I was not on a regular military post. I was a small post in Wisconsin. But on a regular military post, it's worse, because if you're separated, if you're on a president of separation board, your commander's watching you. Your commander's putting pressure on you to kick people out because it looks good for you and your promotion, which is also disgusting in the military. It's
and that's what I found. That's what I found out when I was going through my flag.
Well, let's hear your story, Dalton. I want to know, basically, like, a little bit about what you're growing up and how you got into the military, what that was like early on, and then we'll get into like what the actual incident that we're basically that brings us here. So,
okay, so was a military kid, moved around quite a bit. I was an Eagle Scout. I saw what we had growing up, and then moving around and kind of the diverse things that we, I guess, grew up with. It kind of pushed me towards the Army, showed me that there was a good foundation, good chance of moving around, seeing different stuff, and just a good, stable job. That's what I saw with my father rolling around being in the Army. So I went to college to wrestle in the Big Ten. Got a scholarship to go do that. And then I did a 09 Romeo, which is a officer candidate with ROTC. So I did a split op. I took a summer instead of wrestling with the university and went to boot camp and becoming enlisted. And
this is something you wanted to do, like this was sort of like in line with your personal goals.
Yes, it was. I know a lot of wrestlers will go into the Army because it kind of fits that type of lifestyle, especially if you go to like the infantry or try to go to special forces or Rangers or things of that nature. That was kind of my goal until I got to ROTC, and then we had some green to gold guys in the program, and they say it's all hua when you're 20, but when you turn 30 and 40, it's no longer hua. It's no more like fun. Your knees, your back, getting pissed on with the rain, hooches. He's like, it's no fun anymore. So it's like that older gentleman pretty much told me, think about what you want towards the future. Look at a core that can set you up where it's not going to burn you out. And that's why I chose logistics, because I knew in the Army, they could help me get an understanding of logistics. And when I get outside in the civilian world, they said it's a 6.
Uh-oh. I think I lost them, guys. Yeah, they dropped out. They'll probably try and come right back. Well, hopefully. And I'll send them a text right now. Sorry about that. These things happen. It's the internet, So, oh, there they are.
Oh, there we go.
No, that's okay. It's okay. These things happen. We're used to it. All right. So you were talking about logistics. Apologize. You're back.
Yeah. So that was kind of the route that I had chose. So I met my ex-wife when I was in college. I think I was a junior. Spent a lot of time with her, and everything was fine. It seemed like she was being helpful and kind of like a girlfriend should. She had her moments. She had some like growing up to do, and I feel like we all did at some point.
Sure.
But it's like, so she had a thing called endometriosis, which is where she told me she could get pregnant. And that was pretty much the thing where I was like, okay, well, my goal was to become a captain and then talk about kids if we could. That way we're financially stable. Everything's okay. Moving in the right direction.
Which is 4 to 5 years into the military service.
Yeah. And so endometriosis, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that she can't have kids?
It's not a guarantee.
It just makes it a lot harder, or?
There's a high possibility that she couldn't. So she told me like 98%.
Yeah.
And that's what she told me. Then it come to find out that she told my family at a family reunion that she was going to be the next one pregnant. And no one told me this. So right when I go to commission, after I commission, she tells me that she's pregnant. And I try to do the right thing and take care of my family, and I married her and put her on TRICARE and make sure that they were taken care of when we moved to the duty stations. Because at that point I got married probably about a year, 2 years in of
Yeah.
seeing her. So didn't really think it was that big of a deal. I mean,
Let me ask, if you don't mind, let me ask, did you, before this happened, first of all, was your relationship with her monogamous? Like it was just you two? There was no, like, I know you weren't like playing the field. You were looking for somebody to settle down with, perhaps. And also, did you think before you learned about the pregnancy, did you think she could be the one, but I'm just gonna like wait and see, or you weren't sure, or what?
I felt like she was the one. But some things kind of had me questioning it, but at the same time, it's like I was questioning things. We were already married.
Uh-huh.
So there was symptoms.
You mean like red flags?
Red flags for me and his mom right off the bat. We were like, she came in here telling us how the first day we met her, the first 5 minutes, she started talking about how her mom and dad beat her, how her mom and dad treated her bad, how her mom and dad wouldn't give her no money, these type things. Then she tried to start separating Dalton from us, which we have a very, very tight relationship.
I can see
before
that.
and after. We
Mhm.
wrestled 365 days a year. So we were pretty much together for the last 5 years of his high school career. And then went to college. And then when he met Anna, there was a lot of stuff that was going on. Like we were being questioned what we were doing, why we were doing it. And then Dalton's a lot like I am. He'll shoot a text. And if it's not 5 words, getting it out there quick and easy, we would be getting these texts that were 3-4 inches long on a phone. And it was
Mini
like
essays, yeah.
yeah, that's not Dalton. Dalton ain't writing that.
And I didn't even know that she was in my phone pretty much. At one point,
So there were red flags. She was a little bit controlling, a little bit like kind of wanted to like, pull you away from your family kind of
I
thing.
feel like she was very manipulative, and
Mhm.
usually I was a good judge of character, but somehow like it slipped by me. But she was very manipulative. It's like she brought things up that made me start thinking. It was like, where's this coming from? And then she tied certain things to that subject that made it have some reinforcements. It was like, where are you getting this, and how do you know that, and where is this coming from? Type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
So okay, so let's back up. So she tells you that first, she's got endometriosis. It's going to be really difficult to have a kid, nearly impossible. And you say, okay, well, we'll figure that out later because that's not really like what I'm. And correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm just trying to get a sense of like the timeline. And you're saying, well, I got some other goals I want to accomplish first. We'll come and revisit that later. Let's see how this goes. And then at some point after that, she sort of springs it on you. Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. And now you're like, okay, well, then it must be me. I must be the father. So I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to marry her and I'm going to take care of my family. And is that about right?
that's pretty close.
Okay. Yeah. And around, well, how old were you around when this was? You were like 20 or something like that?
22.
No, I was a senior in college. It was 2019.
It was before COVID. It was 2018. Yeah, it was 2018. And
COVID hit the end of 2019. At the end of 2019, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, because I commissioned in May of 19, and then she had sprung it right at commissioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about I don't know, a month before commissioning or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had conversation about some of the things that were going on, and whether or not to break ties with her because of some of the stuff that was going on. But she listened in on conversations. She read texts.
She went through mail.
Yep, she went through mail.
So at that point, after commissioning, I went to Fort Knox for about 2 months, and she moved up here with my parents. Well, they couldn't take it anymore, so she moved in with my grandmother in North Carolina. So
Well,
she moved all the way to North Carolina.
We caught her in several lies. One was we got her a job through a friend of ours at a nursing home because she said something about she had worked in a nursing home before and she wanted to be a nurse. Well, we have a friend up the road that works at a nursing home and get you a job, and got her a job. And she came back one day and said, I wasn't on the schedule today. I guess I'll go tomorrow. And then me, being who I am, got aggravated because somebody didn't do the schedule right and wasted her time. I called our friend. I said, what's going on? And she says, she didn't tell you? I went, no. She got fired yesterday for threatening a dementia patient. And we have a letter that states that. She told a dementia patient, if you put your hands on me, I'll beat your ass.
Okay.
And so she got fired from that job, but she didn't tell us for like 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So she was going to town and wasting time doing whatever, and come home and say she's home from work. And then I confronted her about it. And that's when I was like, look, you can't do stuff like that. You know, if you got a job like this, okay, so let's find another job and we'll move on while you're here. And so you and Dalton can progress. There's no sense sitting here and not doing nothing. And so she, okay, I'll do that. But then she went to see Dalton down at Fort Knox. They had a car wreck, but we didn't know she had already packed all her bags. Oh, I think we did know that she'd packed her bags to move out. She was leaving. She wasn't going to live with us.
Yeah.
Because I had rules and stuff here that you're going to live by these rules while you're living here. Help out around the house, do things like that. But she was bound and determined she wasn't doing nothing here. And she told many lies. She told lies on my daughter. And those were big, huge red flags to me and Christy. And we're trying to be cordial because now it's our daughter-in-law with our grandchild she's carrying.
Right.
But then she went and seen Dalton, and she moved in with my mom. And I tried to warn my mom, things are going to happen and you ain't going to like Mom. And Mom's about a month in, Mom said, you were right. And then she had to move out of my mom's and then moved in with Dalton at Fort Knox.
No,
All right.
Not Fort Lee,
No.
Fort Lee, Virginia.
So I was at Knox for 2 months, and then I went to Fort Lee. I was down there, and then she ended up staying with me on post while I went through officer training school.
Yeah.
So the reason why I think she's come stay with me is there was an incident that happened at my grandmother's house where I think we got into a verbal altercation, and she disagreed with me. And I said, fine, we'll just split. And she had a financial issue, in my opinion. Like, she would take 3 or 4 trips to Walmart a day. I just think she wasn't good at
She wasn't good with money.
Wasn't
Or a
good at
little bit.
managing money. So at that point, she was like, fine, I'm out. And I said, all right. I took my credit card and I cut it in half.
Mm-hmm.
You're free to go anytime you want. And as soon as I cut the credit card in half, she put hands on me and shoved me over a chair. And I landed on my back, and I got up, and she come at me again, and I caught her wrists. And I told her that she was not going to do that, and told her to get out of the house and go cool down. So that was.
So it sounds like, according to your testimony, it sounds like she got violent and you restrained her. You didn't hit her. You probably knew that would have been awful. But you basically said, let's take the temperature down. You're being a little insane. Is this where the allegations come in?
No.
My mom testified in court to that too.
So we had 13 character witnesses, and it didn't matter.
No.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just you and her there.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
We had 13 character witnesses for Dalton that watched her put hands on him. She almost caused a wreck at 80 miles an hour. Dalton going up the road, pulling a boat, and she attacked him.
While he was driving?
While he was driving with my daughter in the back seat, and my daughter tried to videotape it at the end.
So she punched me in the side of the head while I was driving. because I was singing her favorite song in a joking manner. It was random. It was like, what are you thinking? I'm driving. And like you got 16
I mean,
to
was it
45
Taylor
minutes.
Swift? Because women get crazy about Taylor Swift. You can't make fun of Taylor Swift.
I
It
don't
could
know.
have been that. I don't know.
But after the child was born, actually back up. She was a very aggressive pregnant. Very aggressive pregnant. Had temper tantrums, lash outs, screaming, yelling. I think we had the hotel call our room for a noise disturbance once. It's just like I get in the shower and lock the door just to get some peace and quiet. And she'd pick the lock, come in, and just open the curtain. And I would sit there and take a shower with no curtain because she would sit there and just chirp and chirp and chirp. And I was like, look, we're both mad. Just go away. Leave me alone. Calm down. She's like, nope, we're going to talk through this right now. And she just wouldn't let it go until you said she was right. Could not let things go. So after Virginia, we moved to Kansas. Got us a house in town because she wanted to live closer to town. That way that we had everything in case we needed it because we had a newborn. I like to live in the country, but there's some amenities you don't have. So we lived in the suburbs of Manhattan, Kansas. And it was like probably 5 minutes away from like Walmart, Texas Roadhouse.
Sure.
Anything like that. So I think after we got married, she started changing in behavior. Started picking up on things. She wanted her name on bank accounts. She wanted her name on the cars. She wanted her name on houses. She wanted her name on certain things. And I'm like, no. As soon as I started fighting back, saying like, no. That's when things started getting kind of a little warm. She started manipulating me more, being a narcissist, telling me that I needed to stay home. And all she did was she would stay in the house and no lights and wanted me to stay with her when I was off work all the time. And I'm like, this is depressing. I can't do this. Like I need to get out and some sunlight. And we had 2 hunting dogs and we're in a state where I could actually give them some attention now.
Yeah.
It's a big hunting state for pheasants and quail. So I was like, I got to get out of here. Like I can't sit in this house all day. And she would try to manipulate me, go spend time with your family, do this. I'm like, I'm with you guys all the time. Like there's time for you to go do you and get you some me time. And like, I can't stay in a damn house. It gets depressing. So that's where she become very manipulative and trying to keep me there, trying to keep eyes on me. And then I started figuring out that my accounts on my phone kept jumping, meaning it would kick me out of Facebook, kept kick me out of Snapchat, kick me out of all these apps. And I'm thinking, what is going on with my phone? And I would tell her, and she'd go, I have no idea. You should probably contact Verizon and find out. Well, I didn't think anything of that. So, and then when we went to Kansas, she knew that my unit was planning to go to Korea for a 9-month rotation.
Yeah. When you were in Kansas, were you away from your dad and your mom and stuff? You guys are staying in North Carolina or?
We're in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Wisconsin. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we went down and helped them move in.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys were down there for about a week or something like that. We came down.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys came for Christmas.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to deploy on February. They came down for Christmas, and she started showing her ass at Christmas. I think my dog got his foot caught in the door. She come around screaming
with the baby in her arms.
So that's another thing, that when she would get into a verbal altercation, she would pick up the child and then she would get in your face and scream, so that you couldn't do nothing. You couldn't get away. Like, even though somebody wouldn't do something, it just made you feel like, oh my goodness, you have a newborn in your hands. Like, why are you coming at me? So it just made everything very uncomfortable. Even like for me, like living there, like whenever we get an altercation, she would pick up the child and then come and have an altercation with me, like this close. So it was just like, go put the baby down and then come and talk to me. Nope. And then she would just keep on. And then if I try to leave the room, it would be like a constant follow. And there was a verbal altercation that was recorded. And it seemed like she was doing this on purpose, and because she was trying to get things on recording. She was trying to manipulate you to say certain things. And to find out, her mother admitted to me that was their plan. When they knew I was going to Korea, it was going to try to manipulate me into trying to say something just to get her away or off my back so that they could use it against me. And that verbal altercation, you could hear me say, get away from me. And you could hear me leaving and going from room to room, and it faintly getting lighter and lighter. And that was a constant. It was,
On that, you can hear him ask her 7 times, please just leave me alone. Let me take a shower and then we'll talk. Cause when you're deploying, his time was from what, 5:30 in the morning? And
no, it was not. So first ID kept you for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Until you were ready to deploy. Until you were 80% deployable, like you guys we didn't leave post.
Yeah.
So
that's the way the Army is.
Fort Riley is a use and abuse post. I asked my PSG, which is my second in command, my enlisted guy that was an E6, E7 position, but he was an E6. I asked him, how much do you see your family a year? He said about 3 months. I see my family 3 months out of the year. And I said, Jesus, that's a lot.
Yeah. When the Army says family first, that's a lie. Because if you're in the 1st Infantry Division, the 82nd, Fort Campbell, the 101st,
4th ID,
10th Mountain, 3rd ID, 4th ID, 2nd ID, those guys keep you at work at least 16, 17 hours a day because you are the infantry. You're the tip of the spear. I was in the 82nd. I was an infantry officer. And I can tell you right now, my guys constantly complained. My lieutenants or other lieutenants and stuff were like, no wonder the divorce rate is so high in the Army is because those units don't let you go home.
So we had the highest suicide rate. The 1st ID had the highest suicide rate. So 1st ID was attached to Fort Hood during the time that Fort Hood got light of all those deaths and whatnot that was happening. We were under their light. So,
and the suicides are because what? Like
it's because of the rotation. So you do 9 months somewhere. Okay, so let's back up. So you'll do NTC,
National Training Center.
You'll go and do NTC for like 2 months, and then you'll come back and then you'll go to the field. They'll send you to the field for 30 days, and then you come back and go to JRTC, which is in Louisiana. It's a joint training center for another 2-3 months, and then you come back and they go to the field again. And then when they come back, they do the packing list, and then you go on another 9-month rotation.
Or you're rotating into Afghanistan or Kuwait or somewhere like that.
You go to theater, which is getting prepped to go to war.
Yeah.
So it's a constant moving. So what happens is the families that come here, if your wife or spouse or whatever is not acclimated to this, it makes a nice riff in your marriage or whatever. So what happens, and I saw it many times. I was the investigating officer for so many of these divorces or adulteries or suicide stuff. And it was ridiculous because like the Army's just pulling families apart by sending a guy away and leaving that woman and the children alone by themselves forever.
And a lot of times the reason that they're doing that is you got a battalion commander who's got an agenda to make brigade full bird. And he looks better if he's volunteering his unit to go do all these missions, regardless of what it does to the men and women that are serving under him. He doesn't care about that. His whole career is based off whether or not he makes that next rank. His OER determines whether or not he makes that next rank, whether or not he gets to War College is determined off of the person ahead of him recommending him for that school. And the whole time is he don't care about you. He don't care about your family. He don't care about your children. He cares about looking good for his boss to go higher.
And we'll get to that a little later. So we'll back to Christmas. I wanted to add, so at Christmas, there was a verbal altercation that happened with the family, and she got up and grabbed the baby. I think my brother and I got into an altercation about something.
Not an altercation, just an argument, something silly that happened in the past.
I use altercation as like just we're having a talk through, you could say.
Yeah, not altercation is a.
And
yeah.
She grabbed the baby and like tried to run into the room, and she elbowed my mother in her port. So my mother had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
She had breast cancer, and she had told me afterwards, it got me alone because she didn't want me knowing of that right then and there, that Anna, she grabbed the baby and swung backwards and caught my mother in her port. And when she's moving forward and swinging backwards, that to me sounds like it's on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And
She didn't tell us until after the fact.
She didn't like my parents, so I could see where she would do that. And my mother didn't tell me because she knew that I would do something about it.
She didn't like us because we called a spade a spade.
Well, everybody called the spade a spade. My aunt did it. She wanted me to stay away from going over to my aunt's house. My other aunt did it. My grandmother ended up doing it. And she was telling me that everybody was bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I found out, or didn't find out, I pretty much told myself, like during that time of getting ready for deployment, that I need to just try to keep her happy because she's exhausting. She exhausted me so much. And I told her, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And I think that's what sparked, like she just wanted to tear me down.
Because so let's get to, it sounds like, yeah, I mean, a lot of red flags, a pattern of abusive behavior, very manipulative, almost like Machiavellian, using the child too, and wants to break you away from your parents, like sort of like, you know, and also like seems to like demand that you basically be there for her at all times at any point. So like, you know, stay with me. You don't like whatever, even if we're just in the dark quietly. So let's get to the part that brings you on our show. Like what happened there and what is it and what were the consequences of that? So
I kind of had a timeline. When I got to Korea, I think 2 weeks into Korea, she told me that she was leaving unless I pretty much submitted to her demands. And then I told her, yeah, go kick rocks. Because when she sent me my laptop, I found out that she was cheating on me. She had not backed out of her email, and I saw every single email between her and another guy. I got
was this email. You hadn't left yet? You haven't.
No, I was in Korea. I was.
Oh, you were in Korea. Oh, okay. Well, this is unfortunately, this is very, very common. I know, like every person I brought on here, just about, they have a story that involves a woman that is cheating while the men are away, basically.
Yeah, you know, it's the easiest route for them.
So yeah. her MO was to try to get some blackmail on you, to try to find something on you and then use it against you. And the recordings he's talking about is the tool that she got to use in court so that Dalton couldn't do nothing to her. He couldn't touch her. And then he found out that she had been talking to this guy in Mississippi since December before they, when they first got down to.
Before I deployed.
Yeah.
She had been talking to him for 4 months prior to my deployment.
Yeah.
So, so I had time to talk to my child, but she would use that as a pawn. She would use my child as a pawn to get me online, to try to manipulate me into talking about certain things that she could use for custody court or running up my child support. And my commanders were very weak, very, very weak. I kind of resonated in them for help. What should I do, sir? What can I do? This woman's spewing negative stuff about me. I found out through my own soldiers in my platoon. He pulled me aside, one of my NCOs said, "Hey, sir, this is she got on the wives page and asked how she could get money out of you." And they told,
What's the wives page briefly?
so apparently there was a Fort Riley wives page. So like anything like for new
Is it
wives,
like a Facebook page kind of a thing?
there's a Facebook page for new wives, current wives, and past existing wives to talk about what happened at Riley, get ready for deployment, if they needed it, like for the PX or any like help for children, things like that. And I saw it. She blatantly asked, "What can I do to get money out of him and get away from him?" And
Told his wives that he was beating her.
And the wives said, "No."
Of course, yeah.
This was afterwards. One of the wives said, "If he had ever hit you or beat you, you can say that, and the Army will protect you." And then she below and said, "Yeah, he beat me." One of the wives on Fort Riley gave her the idea, and she ran.
So another wife from the wives page gave her this idea, and then she ran with it.
Yep. She called my command and said that I did X, Y, and Z. And I said, "Sir, ask her for proof. Ask her if she have any evidence towards what she's saying I did."
The police were never called to their house at any time, any place, anywhere.
So yeah, she didn't go to the cops first.
Nope.
That should be it. That should be the first sign that there might, you smell something is amiss. But but okay. So no police reports. So what happened next?
So here's what I told my brigade commander at the end of the day. I told him, "Sir, I initiated the divorce. She didn't initiate the divorce. We've been going through this for so long. She didn't try to initiate a divorce. She didn't call the cops. She has no hospital stays, no medical reports. There's nothing. It was just her saying this happened." But I said, "I have pictures, I have text, I have emails, I have witnesses." What I was told at the end of the day by a lawyer, JAG, TDS, was that we as soldiers cannot try to hinder the civilian's reputation, which means we cannot say anything that would be bad towards that civilian's reputation. Meaning that when we go to court, they can go after me all day long, but they cannot touch a civilian. Means they cannot say that she did X, Y, and Z that gives her character negative light. So it means a service member is a sitting duck, no matter what it is, when they walk into that courtroom.
And that's the thing that came back from the tail hook and Obama wanting more sexual assault and assault prosecutions. Is these were some of the rules and regulations that they set in place where a soldier cannot defend himself. A soldier can't go back and say, "Hey, look at the evidence and what's going on." We had the guy that she moved in with, Mississippi, was a key witness in his custody battle. He testified to court. She made a false 911 call that he was beating me. She didn't know that he was filming her. She went outside. She ran around the house twice, jumped in her car, didn't lock it, and didn't leave. When the police got there, they arrested him. He told them to look at the videotape. She didn't know there was a videotape.
Pause.
Yeah.
So he's living out a little bit of. So I talked to the man specifically. He said that same thing I told you. When she didn't get her way, she would get up, hit the kid up, get in his face, whatever. She called the police, ran around the house, was punching herself in the face, and he was recording it as she's running around. So he's a sheriff's deputy of that county.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to go be a sheriff because she wanted to learn the ins and outs of the law, and she admitted this to me so that she could then have the knowledge. So when we go to civilian court or custody court, she could win that custody court knowing the laws of being a cop. So she started dating a cop and using that cop. Well, when the other policeman showed up, they didn't arrest him. They went straight and questioned him. And she ran up and said, hey, I called you for abuse. Why are you not talking to me? Why are you talking to him? And they said, ma'am, please walk away. Go stand over there. They talked to him. He showed them the video, and they left. They didn't arrest her for false allegations or any of that, because that would have put him in jail for a very long time
If he didn't have that video.
if he didn't have the video. But that's what bothers me, is that, let's say my ex-wife or any other woman out here makes a false allegation, nothing happens. I feel like they should get the same treatment as what they're trying to set you up for.
So that guy was not allowed by the judge that was superseding the court hearings. Him and the policeman were not allowed to be subpoenaed.
So what it was he called me and said that she had stole money from him, and he kicked her out, and she called Child Protective Services on him, saying that he was a bad father and was doing drugs. And was trying to get Child Protective Custody.
Saying this about you?
No, about that police officer that she had dated.
Okay.
She left me for. So I called him and said, hey, man, what's going on? Where's my child? Like, when's the last time you've seen her? Because I didn't know when she was going to pick up, when she was going to leave. Actually, that brings me to another point. When she left Fort Riley put out an order that anybody that was associated with the Army of Fort Riley was not allowed to leave because of COVID. And she disobeyed all those orders. I think the civilian said, do not leave, do not travel.
Yeah.
And she left to Mississippi.
No, she went to North Carolina and dropped off the grandchild, dropped off his daughter, and then traveled back to Mississippi and left that daughter for over 40 days. And then didn't Josh say that he had to force her to go get that baby?
Yeah, he had to convince her to go
back.
Go get my child from her grandparents.
Yeah.
So her parents anyway.
Yeah.
So she kept going back and forth, and I pleaded with the judge going, look, I don't believe that this woman should have my child if she can't take care of herself. If she's hopping around seeing all these dudes going in and out of the house, dating all these guys, going to all these parties, and she would get on these. Well, the reason we know all this is because she would get on TikTok Live. She was trying to be an influencer. And she would go live at all these parties. She'd be drinking. And I'd just be watching and recording. And I would give it to my lawyer.
So she's a pregnant, but were you guys divorced at this point? Or like a mother, a mother.
Yep.
On social media trying to be an influencer.
Yep.
And she's like how old? Like in her 20s?
Yeah, she was early 20s at the time.
Yeah, and the baby was left with her mom while she's out at these wherever they're filming these things at, and you could see them drinking. She drank online, all kinds of.
Well, it bothered me is because I'm overseas. I'm doing my job. I'm protecting the country, doing whatever. And I can't be a father because of what I'm doing for my country.
Right.
And she's not being a mother. She's pawning that child off to her mom to take care and teach. And it really bothered me. I'm like,
it
if
should.
I was home,
yeah, it should.
I would be with my child. Like, what are you doing? And she had told me during all this, if you're not going to take care of me, I'll find a man that will. And that's what she was doing. She was out trying to find another suitor to take care of her. Okay. And I went to my commander and I said, sir, I'm doing all that I can. And they were trying to force me to pay for her new apartment and everything. I said, sir, I'm not doing that. We have a lease because we still had that lease. And I was paying on a house at home that nobody lived in. So I was paying on a lease, and it says the TDS lady told me afterwards, if it was above a certain amount of money, you don't have to pay for anything else because that was the max for BAH for that person. My commander said, I don't care what the JAG said. And he wrote a memorandum of record and made me sign it. And if I didn't, he said I could be arrested for not giving funds to my family. That JAG officer told me that he was wrong, that if it was above a certain amount of funds, I didn't have to. Well, I'd already signed it, and he said, and I said, all right, make the Army give me that money back. And they said, we can't make them. And the commander said, kick rocks. So I had to give her double, and I ended up going into almost a financial hole because she kept asking it more and more and more. And my commanders kept writing off on it. They kept saying, okay. And then he told me, happy wife, happy life. I said, at this point, there is no happy wife, happy life. I said, she's already disgruntled. She already knows that the Army's going to make me do whatever that you say I have to do. And not saying that that was right at all.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they told me that I was going to go to court martial, and
so these allegations, they just took them as you're going to court martial over the allegations or over this financial stuff.
Over allegations.
Okay, over the allegations. All right, that's what I thought. So they didn't. So there was no police report, and I know that they do internal investigations in the military, but they just didn't even do that. They just said, okay, we're just going to take it as writ because of these policies or this sort of like change in policies put in by the Obama administration, because they get their numbers from this really like bogus study that was done on college campuses by Mary Koss. And they're basically saying, well, if this happens on college campuses, it's got to be true for the military as well. So we're just going to run with that. Right.
So there was an investigation. So as soon as she posted that on Facebook saying, oh, he beat me, they put me under flag. A flag is halting all productivity of me promoting or leading. And I'm an officer. So I went and sat in the 3-shot for 3 years. So they did an investigation for 3 years on me. And I sat stagnant. All my other peers went and become captains and went back to school. And I'm still a second lieutenant. It takes 4 years to become a captain. So I sat there as a second lieutenant. And what I started figuring out was that lieutenant colonel that had put me under flag didn't have to put me under flag. And he was influencing all the other captains that were in charge of me to try to get more stuff on me. So like negative counselings, disobeying orders. They were trying their best. And I'll give you an example. We had lieutenants come in and run colonel's PT, which means that a lieutenant has to build a physical training plan for everybody and execute it. Well, that lieutenant, I helped write the PT plan for him. And he decides not to show up that morning, not call, don't give a heads up. Like he's in charge of colonel's PT. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I call him and I call him and I call him. And I'm like 5 calls in. And I'm like, hey, dude, where are you? Why are you not answering? I had a panic attack. I'm not coming. And I said, that's not an excuse. And he said, I'm not coming, and hung up. And I told the colonel, the one that didn't like me, hey, sir, he's not coming. He had a panic attack, apparently. I guess I'll run it. The commander that was in charge of him was the S3, which is right underneath the lieutenant colonel, was supposed to discipline him. Only thing that happened was, are you okay? I heard it. I was in the room. Are you okay? All right. Nothing happened to him. And that's a big deal. No negative counseling, no smack on the wrist. It was just like, are you okay? And let him go. It was like a week later. I live about 45 minutes from post. I let them know, hey, I'm going to be a minute late. There's some traffic back here. Just going to give you guys a heads up. I get there and I run up in formation, and I think I was probably 45 seconds to a minute late off first formation. That commander tried to give me a negative counseling and write me up for being a minute late. And I was like, what? I don't understand this. You let all your NCOs miss formation or be 10 minutes late, or this lieutenant miss a PT that he was scheduled to run. and you're going to try to give me a negative counseling for being a minute late and I let you know. She's like, okay, fine. I'll write you up for AWOL. I said, all right.
AWOL.
I said, hold on. I said, okay, you're searching now. I think you're fishing for something to write me up for. I said, because the fact you just said that you're going to write me up for AWOL. I said, do you even know what AWOL means? And she gave me some dumb definition of what AWOL was. I said, false. So the definition of AWOL is a fact that you disappear without any communication at all and just ghost. That's AWOL. They give you, what is it, 48 hours?
Mm-hmm.
They give you 48 hours. And if you do not say anything or come back, that's AWOL. She spewed that mess. And then I said, all right, we're done here. So that's why I knew that commander was telling her to write me up for certain things. And the reason I say that is because when we went to court martial, they try to use her write-ups as extra stuff to tack on to that general court martial.
Yeah.
So orders.
So they were trying to make it not just these allegations, but add as much to it as possible to add credibility to the court martial, right?
How many? I think they started out with how many allegations?
35.
Yeah, 35 allegations. Turned out to be 13. Turned out to be 4. But the Army does that. The court systems do this to people on the outside world. They do it on the inside world. Is if you're accused of one thing, they do everything in their book to try to tack on a lot more stuff. So it sounds like you're the worst person in the whole world in front of a judge.
And the lawyer even told me that. He said, they're going to make you look like the worst person in the world. He said, don't get discouraged. It is just
their playbook
procedure.
Yeah, because it's basically it becomes a kind of like game where the lawyers, the prosecutors are like trying to win the game. So they're trying to get as much as they can out of it. Yeah.
So another thing that bothered me the most was that my colonel had my wife on speed dial. My ex-wife got on the phone and said, I have your colonel on speed dial. You just go ahead and say something wrong and I'll just call him and get you effed up. And I was like, Korea. What? No, I was home at that time.
Okay.
I walked into his office, knocked on the door, and said, sir, do you have my wife on speed dial? He said, I have her on contacts. Yeah. I said, you guys talk regularly? He's like, once a week. I was like, what in the world are you thinking? Why are you talking to my ex-wife once a week? I said, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I had it recording because in the state of Kansas, you can record apparently one party, but I don't think you could really do it for the Army or not. But I think that's the reason that all these allegations got dropped. He was influencing all the commanders. And I found this out, that if the lower commander did not agree with the higher commander, that commander's job was at risk. Because
that's the Army.
Because the company commander that got in charge of me kind of had something along the same lines happen to him. Not that crazy, but he literally said at the beginning he was like anybody else. They didn't believe me, whatever. But after like a month, him dealing with my ex-wife, always calling up there, he said, dude, I get it. I understand what you're saying now. She is nuts. He said, I would love to help you, but this colonel is asking me to
bury you,
get stuff on you and talk to this wife and gather information. And I had that recorded. He didn't know that. And I apologized to him later. But when he got it on stand, he said the complete opposite. And I knew that colonel was making him say that. They dropped all charges against me from the colonel and the captain because that captain couldn't keep his story straight on the stand, and they had that recording. So they dropped everything. And to me, and even on stand in the courtroom, they caught her in many lies. And to me, I'm sitting there going, that's a mistrial.
Yeah.
That's a mistrial.
Yeah, my wife was testifying, and my wife got up there and told her what she had witnessed and seen, and they stopped the proceedings, made the courtroom, made the jury clear the courtroom, and had a discussion with the prosecutor and the judge. And there was a lot of stuff going on in that courtroom. We didn't know about Arvis until after the fact. This is long story short. We've been here for about an hour, and I know you need to wrap up. We didn't know about Arvis until after the fact. But if we'd have known about Arvis and what was going on in these hearings, we could have used that at our advantage.
Sure.
But we found out later that 6 of the jury members had been on her juries multiple times, and that's illegal.
Wow.
So, I know we want to wrap it up, so I'm going to speed through this trial. So, leading up to the trial, my attorney quit. So I had a younger attorney, a first-year attorney, and it just seemed like he was already checked out. Like he already knew what was going to happen. He said something about them playing golf with the prosecution, and all this was throwing me for a loop. I was getting mad. Because I'm a criminal justice major. I was going to go to law school, and I was pretty much telling him, this is not a fair and speedy trial. What are we talking about? Why can they do this and I can't say anything? I have all this evidence. I have her admitting that I didn't do anything on one of these lives. I have her on these TikToks, guys saying, hey, where is he at? I'll go get him for you, honey. I'll go take care of him. At midnight at my house in Kansas, there was a black Charger that parked out front of my house 2 nights in a row. This time I actually slipped out the back door, slipped around onto the curb and knocked on the door. As soon as I hit the glass, car took off. And there was 15 dudes in the comments was saying, hey, where's he at? I'll go take care of him, honey. Don't worry about it. And I gave this to my lawyers, and they're just like, and I'm like, I'm scared for my life. This woman is having people try to come take me out. And it made me, I turned off all the lights. I made precautions in the house. I was ready for it because the Army didn't care.
No.
And there's 15 police reports out there from Kansas of me calling and going, hey, there's someone out front sitting in my driveway with the lights on. Hey, somebody tried to break in my house. I had a break in. And the Army just kind of blew it off.
Mm-hmm.
So leading up to the court case, I had all this evidence. And I told them, they asked me to take a plea deal of 35 years. And I said, no, I have all this evidence. Good try. Kick rocks. And then they come back with, okay, a plea deal of 2 months. I said, what was
the plea deal for?
Plea deal was for me to plead to domestic violence. And
so basically to plead guilty, and then you get a reduced sentence, but you didn't do anything wrong. So you're like, no, I'm not doing that.
And I had all the evidence.
Good on you.
And we trusted the court system.
I did. Yeah. I trusted my commanders at one point. Because I was very patriotic when I came in the Army. I was very patriotic. I had clean record. I had flying colors. Eagle Scout, 2-time state champ, decorated in wrestling. And
honor student.
I was an honor student. And I came into the Army thinking, I'm just going to keep adding to and doing the right thing and taking care of my soldiers. Well, I saw a whole different world being a POG, which is logistics. The combat arms guys told a different mentality. It was kind of the mentality I had. But they told me you can't bring that mentality into POG world. I said, why not? What?
Not POG, just logistical world.
Logistics.
Logistical world and logistical units are totally different than infantry maneuver units. Maneuver units are your guys that are straightforward, hard-nosed, good charging guys. Okay? All the officers, most officers and stuff are like that. But you get out, you branch out into the service units and the service support units, and you find that there's guys out there that aren't the best. They aren't the up and up.
They kind of just want to go hide and whatever, as long as it gets done type of guys.
Yeah, but that's beside the point. This whole case, the evidence that he had against her and against the stuff that she was doing, they would not allow in that courtroom.
Because it spoke negatively to her character.
It spoke negatively to her character, and we had eyewitnesses that they wouldn't subpoena. Now, my family showed up on their own. They paid for them to show because they volunteered to come. But
so they were saying a character witness was different than an actual evidential witness. So the people that we had that said, "Hey, we'll come," that would speak negatively to her and the character. The prosecution told the judge, we don't want them. And they were not allowed. That's what I was told. But a character witness was allowed. So what I learned in that courtroom is there's the proceedings, and then once they have found their verdict, then your character witnesses are allowed to then step forward and talk about your character. That would help your sentence be lower or higher.
Yeah.
So the courtroom is stacked against a soldier, not necessarily just him, but the courtrooms have been stacked against a soldier since 2013 when all this started. There's so many people that are sitting in jail right now that are innocent men and women because of the procedures in the courtroom.
So the day before I went in there, that prosecution met my TDS lawyer outside the door, and they took all my evidence away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what was going on? He said, you're not allowed to have any of this evidence into proceedings. I said, excuse me, who says this? He said, the prosecution said so. I said, the prosecution does not get that say so. He said, yes, they do.
Yep.
Prosecution pretty much runs the courtroom and what they want and what they don't want. He said that if it has something to do with objecting to something that they say, you can use something, but it has to be pre-planned. They have to accept it before we go into the courtroom. And the whole time I'm like screaming bloody murder. This is dumb. I cannot believe this. Like I just said, you're pretty much locking my wrist up before we even walk in the room. Like I'm a sitting duck.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what I found out afterwards was she was going along with this because she's getting paid to go along with this. She got on the victim witness list. If you get on the victim witness list, you get $1,500 a month per victim.
$3,000
for 3 years, which means she got my daughter got it, which was an infant, got the victim witness list. She got the victim witness list, and then her mom got the victim witness list.
So she was collecting 45.
I was told it did.
No, her mom didn't get nothing. She got $3,000.
Well, whatever. She got like some money out of it too. So it was like she benefits. She gets to look like the victim, which is good for her. She gets paid, and she gets your daughter.
Yep.
She takes me out of the picture, is what she said.
Yeah, she gets to take you out of the picture and get paid for it.
Yep.
And yeah.
So,
all right, go ahead.
The biggest thing that I had a red flag with being inside the courtroom was the jury that they had there. There was multiple jury members that was a conflict of interest. They had our battalion medical guy on there, which worked hand in hand with my colonel.
That's trying to get him.
Okay. The two biggest colonels, highest rank that were on the jury were my colonel's wife's best friends. They admitted to this, coming to their house, going to parties at their house, things like that. And I think it was like 7 of the jury members knew the prosecution and worked hand in hand prior to that, which told me the majority of all the jury was a conflict of interest. They let them fly. And I thought that would go against at the end when they did appeals. Like, look at all the jury members. They knew the prosecution, everybody on the prosecution. And then that judge would not let any of my witnesses on stand. So like the guy that she left me for, he said, I'll testify, dude. Yep, I'll be there. And just went blank for the last week. Wouldn't return calls, like nothing. So I found out that I was a sitting duck. So I'm glad that I had the judge that I did have. They switched out judges like a week prior to court, and then told me a week prior. I'm like, what's going on? That my lawyer told me that the original judge was a hard-nosed individual. Like he was so hard on
Colonel
people.
Henderson, he put people in jail for the max, not the minimums.
So he was sitting in the back of the courtroom, and he spoke out of turn. We were going through proceedings, and he yelled, "Guilty, guilty!" And I turned around like, who is that? And he's sitting in the back of the courtroom. He is the head judge at Fort Riley. I had a National Guard judge,
Yeah.
and he screams guilty during this, not at the end. And I'm like,
Mhm.
how is this? Like, okay, we're not going to hold him in contempt for saying anything.
Yeah, right. Was
Nope,
there even a warning?
nothing.
Nothing. So where are we at right now? What ended up happening as a result of that? And how are you dealing with it?
So they found me guilty for 4 different things. So, and then they told me I had a year and a half in Leavenworth, and I have never seen the inside of a jail cell. I've never been.
No speeding tickets.
I have
nothing.
no speeding tickets. Nothing. I'm like, I have a clean record, and all of a sudden I'm being put in prison for something that they can't accuse me of, or they couldn't find anything.
So the outside courts wouldn't hear her case at all. The outside courts would not do anything. Man, the evidence you bring to us is not evidence that there
was not enough to take it to criminal court.
Yep.
They told her that this is nothing.
Yep.
But the Army said, "Oh, we'll take it."
Yep.
So I spent a year in there, or a year and a half in there, and I figured out why. Okay, it's not about if you did right or wrong. I found it was about numbers and money.
Mm-hmm.
It was $5,000 a week per inmate that the federal paid the state. The state was getting all that money for filling cells. And I found out the prosecution has a quota to meet, has to put away a certain amount of individuals per post. And if you get officers, it's a bonus. So I found that out. And some of the guys I talked to, I read their files, I read their paperwork. It was like, I had a buddy of mine get put in there for a hickey. He gave a girl a hickey, and the prosecution had that girl testify against him because of adultery. And
Okay.
he had been away. He'd been in Hawaii. The family lived in New York. She had a whole new boyfriend, and she testified for him, said, "We've not been together for 4 years. I have a boyfriend now. I have my going on. He has his own going on. Like, there's nothing wrong here." And the prosecution said, "Well, there's no divorce decree, so it's adultery. So we're going to make you spend a year in Leavenworth."
Yeah.
And I said, he did a year in Leavenworth for having a relationship when they've already been separated.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff is blown out of proportion, but this stuff is stuck with these guys for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This year and 3 months that he spent in prison for us, for a mother and father that raised their kids, great grandfather served, grandfather served. My dad retired from the military. My sister retired from the military. To see the disgusting part of the military. And I know that you've got listeners right now that know exactly what I'm talking about. The disgusting part of the military is when you're being railroaded as a service member. You volunteer to protect this country and you get railroaded, and our Congress is not doing nothing about this when it was brought to light through this DAC iPad or iPad DAC committee, whichever one it was, I forget now. And if it hadn't been for Arvis bringing this to light, that there's actually an investigation going on about this criminal stuff that's going on, it is just disheartening to wave that flag. It is disheartening to know that our own government is doing this to our men and women, and did it to him, and not necessarily just him. Because when I found out that this had happened multiple times, I come and spoke on his behalf to the DAC iPad committee at the not the Pentagon. We were in Arlington in a room with Arbus, and just to see those people and the investigations they were doing was nothing more than they were waving their hand at stuff. It wasn't they were really digging into whether innocent people had gotten convicted. It was, what's wrong with our procedure? How does our procedure do wrong? Let's get some data over a couple, 2 or 3 years while these people sit in jail that were innocent.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about how this has affected me, it has very much messed with my head and my mental. I don't trust the world we live in. I don't trust our government. I don't trust the police officers that live in my county. Like I feel like I'm looking over my shoulder all the time, and it has affected my everyday life. My ex-wife still stalks me to this day. She affects me getting jobs. She affects me moving on. She's affected me coaching. Like I have a big background, a big fat resume in wrestling, and have a lot to give. And I try to give it back to the community. And someone made an allegation the other day that I tried to kill my ex-wife and children. And it was just like, when is this going to end? When's it going to stop? Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason I want to do this interview is I wanted to get my story out there, but also I'm hoping the story reaches others, and I'm hoping it reaches possibly some political individuals that could possibly help me get this.
That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. I mean, I know that Arvis does have some access or some connections to people in the current administration and the military and such, and they are looking into it, but I think that we need to make more noise. So that's why I'm doing these interviews whenever I,
and
can.
I hope this interview reaches. I hope it reaches Trump. I hope he sees it.
So,
and if he does see it,
yeah,
I mean, I hope he can help.
That's really, I mean, that'd be nice, but that's really optimistic. But I'd like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So here's something else. Is this individual, this female, has done this to another soldier.
Oh yeah,
at Fort Bragg. Same thing. Got pregnant, had a baby. Now he can't see his child.
So a little more behind it. So she did almost the same thing, but not quite. Maybe there's their own circumstances here, but he said, I figured out he opted out to see his child because of her. What she will do is she'll manipulate the situation to get you to talk and do what she wants you to do, and then add things in there and try to get you caught up. I think their command did a better job at it, because that command gave her a cease and desist order, saying no contact, leave him alone, and try to protect him.
Where his command, like he said, logistical command,
just served me up on a platter.
Yeah.
He's infantry and reconnaissance, but I'm not gonna vouch his name. But she's doing that and saying the same things, calling us all deadbeats and things like that.
Yeah, that's also the narrative. Speaking of which, I guess my last question before we wrap up, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Really appreciate it. I know it's not easy to talk to a total stranger about something very personal. How is your daughter doing?
I honestly don't know.
None of us are allowed to see her.
So after everything happened, every time I try to reach out, I would get a restraining order.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got probably 8 restraining orders.
Yeah, and me and his mom have gotten restraining orders
for just sending birthday cards and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous, but it's exhausting, and it's got to the point where she, I think, almost ran me up for $3,000 a month for a 2-month-old, and would just give false stuff for the courts,
of
and
course.
then like daycare, make me pay $1,000 for daycare a month.
But she had no receipts.
And then pulled her out of daycare. And I had to keep paying it because it was a court order.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I got all that nixed because I signed some stuff over to her. And every time I try to reach out, I get a restraining order. In the state of North Carolina, you can put as many restraining orders as you want.
The restraining orders didn't go through. She would just do a restraining order, force us to show up, but then she wouldn't show up. So it would cost us money to fly down there. I flew down there twice to Fayetteville, North Carolina, where she took out 2 restrainers on me, and I didn't do nothing. I didn't even reach out to her, nothing. But I had to show up, and I got an attorney down there, and this attorney says she's a quack job. I don't know what in the world, but she wouldn't show up for neither one of the court dates, and the judge finally threw it out.
And she and I wish I would have recorded this. I think my recorder didn't work that day. She admitted to me that she knew the judge
in Fayetteville.
She was friends with that person because she was her bailiff at one point. And I said, that's a conflict of interest. And as soon as my stuff went through and she got what she wanted from that judge, that judge retired.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, how convenient.
But none of the restraining orders went through. We didn't. None of them.
No, my mother's did go through.
Oh, well, because we sent a birthday card to her mom, and so happened that her mom, she was living with her mom. We didn't know that. We just knew that her mom hadn't moved, so we sent it to her, hoping it would reach wherever Anna was.
She had told me that we could send mail to that address for Emory, and then spun it and then did a restraining order on it.
Yeah. So then my wife got for stalking.
So
yeah,
in the end, I've stopped. I don't want to stop. I make a post for her birthday every year, but it's just it's rough to say if no one's ever been in the situation, but I'm gonna wait till she reaches out to me instead of me trying to reach out and I can just keep getting hit with restraining orders
and trouble
and mess.
Right.
It's just like I said, I just want to be left alone. I just want to move on, and I won't.
Yeah,
and I
be tough.
I still don't get it.
Hopefully, your ex-wife isn't telling lies about you, but she probably is.
Oh, she is.
Parental
100%.
alienation is a real problem. Yeah, so like she might grow up hating you, and because she was told to, So I mean, it's possible, but maybe she'll want to, if she gets abused herself, she might be interested in finding you, and maybe she'll put it together. Well, I guess I just hope that it works out like that. It's a little early to tell right now.
Well, all you can do is stay positive about it.
Yeah, that's right. Just keep on moving. Well, thank you so much for telling us your story, Dalton. I did get one super chat. These are like paid messages from the audience members. So Xerinx gave us $5 super chat. Thank you, Xerinx. And he says, imagine being a male U.S. citizen. You're forced to register for selective service when you become 18. Otherwise, you're barred from any government work and services. In addition to that, you're liable to being imprisoned and or a $250,000 or $260,000 fine. You then enlist into our armed forces and swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. Then, upon being falsely accused, you're guilty until proven innocent or just guilty, and you must abide by injustice and armed forces visits upon you or compounds with your being falsely accused. Then you either get the black mark of a dishonorable discharge, or you survive and endure years of good faith. Thank you for your service statements, knowing that you dealt with. I honestly wonder how veterans that go through this reconcile all that. Just thinking about it and imagining it pisses me off. It's a fucking joke. I wish you the best, Dalton. So thank you, Xerinx, for that. I'm sorry, you want to say something to that?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
I do think the black mark of a dishonorable discharge is ridiculous. How many they actually hand out?
Mm-hmm. Now, knowing if you're in the military and you're below a major rank and you haven't had to deal with this, you'll never know this happens until you hit lieutenant colonel, until you see what happens.
Well, not even just that. Like when I was enlisted, I was cool. I enjoyed the Army. I did what I was told. I moved on the commands, did everything. Yes, sir.
You're
no,
trying
sir.
to be all you can be.
But as soon as I got in a leadership role and saw the political, and I sat in the generals' meetings and saw what they were doing to soldiers, and I spoke up, and I watched my lieutenant colonel lie to generals, and nothing happened. And I told the general, I run the long range, short range training calendar. I run all his stuff. You want to see the real truth? I'll show it to you. I showed that general everything. Nothing happened to that general. You lied to a general and nothing happened to you.
No.
Wow.
So
all right.
so much corruption. It's not even funny.
Yeah. No, I think there's
maybe for another time.
Well, we can talk another time for sure. I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show and telling your story. And thank you for your service, for such as it, whatever that's worth. I know I appreciate it. I'm still patriotic and optimistic, but I understand that there's definitely like entropy that we've allowed to sort of creep into all of our institutions that we need to clean up. So that's kind of my approach is, hey, let's talk about it and then try to get it cleaned up if we can. So because we have to live here and there's nowhere else. This is it. Like this is United States is it. That's like there's nothing freer than this place, even with all the problems. So let's try to fix the problems. But yeah, I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show. I want to thank you all at home, most of all, for tuning in and watching. And you could be anywhere and yet you are here. So thank you so much for that. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when our shows go live and when our videos go up. And share the video, most importantly. Share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of the Fireside Chat, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.